Welcome to the Killer Boobies podcast, Unraveling Breast Implant Illness. Here's your hosts, Wendy Bunnell, Leslie Smoot, and Brandy Vega. Welcome to the Killer Boobies podcast. My name's Wendy Bunnell. I'm going to be your host today. And in studio, I get to interview the beautiful Miss Ann Ziegenhorn. Did I say your name right?
You did.
Woohoo!
You did really good.
Awesome. I was a little fearful. Kept going, okay, I just don't want to totally shred her name apart. And it's beautiful. Is it German?
It is actually German. It means goat's horn.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Anyways, and you are in beautiful Florida, Southwest or Northwest, I should say, Northwest Florida, with the white, pristine beaches. And I'm just jealous. And I hear the little birdies in the background. And so you kind of live in paradise, right?
I do. We do. I can't ask for a better place to live.
Oh, that's awesome. Now you are the founder of the nonprofit organization, the Implant Truth Survivor Committee. I read that, so I didn't get it wrong, which is basically the TITS committee. So that's awesome. Yes. And you were a former plastic surgery tech. You're also a breast implant illness survivor. So that means that you have all sorts of background and knowledge in this area. And so with that being said, Ann, tell us a little bit about you, your organization, and whatever else you want to tell us about, including your story. I would love to hear your story. So take it away.
Okay. So yes, I'm a former plastic surgeon scrub tech, and I still help out in plastic surgery now. I'm also a registered dental hygienist, and I got implants when I was younger. They were free. I had one breast larger than the other, and I was in modeling. And so we just evened me out. I didn't go too big. It was great for my body frame. I was 5'7". I had an A cup and a B cup, so we just took me to a C cup. And it was great. I loved them. I absolutely loved my implants. And then they were gel. And that time frame when I got them, it was coming off of the Dow Corning situation, MDL 26 and everything. And I knew how safe they were because that's what the industry told us. So they came into our office, educated us, and told us how safe breast implants were, and that these women were just money hungry. And you believe them because they show you documents, and those documents looked believable. And so for years, I remember preaching, you can throw them off an Empire State Building, you can run them over with a car, they're going to dig your body up, you'll see bones and 2 sacks sitting there, and that's how safe they are.
Which in itself is kind of weird. You know what I mean? They're going to dig our bones up later and they're going to find our breast implants on top of us. So.
Exactly. I mean, now with the knowledge that we all have, once this happens to us, we kind of go, oh my God, they're going to dig you up and implants are still going to be sitting there. How safe is that really? So they're not biodegradable, but yet they can melt. So, I went along in life thinking everything was good, everything was fine. And my friend called me that used to work with me. My husband and I had moved to Central Florida, and I was a dental hygienist there. And she said, hey, you can get your gel implants out, that whole thing with the silicone, and now they put them on the moratorium, you can get a free set of saline. So I was like, oh, okay. So I came back up to Northwest Florida and exchanged my implants and got textured Mentor saline. Not knowing their texture, the whole time I thought they were smooth because that's just what I knew was in me. So the whole time I thought I had smooth implants. I didn't know I had textured implants. And everything seemed shortly after having that surgery, because we were still in Sebring, Florida. So my timeline started kicking in where I was having breakouts on my face and no dermatologist could clear me up. I had constant headaches, and they kept doing CAT scans and scans of my brain, and they're like, nothing's wrong. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. No medicine would take care of it. So instead of just taking medicine for no reason, I just learned to live with them. So I had this underlying headache for years. And I was having miscarriages and multiple miscarriages, and couldn't figure out why we couldn't get pregnant and keep a pregnancy. I had ovarian cysts growing on me. So just things started compiling over time and never correlated. Then came off of one miscarriage and a DNC to find out that I was pregnant. And so at first they thought, oh my God, did you have a twin? And we missed it. And it turned out that it was a new pregnancy. And I kept the pregnancy and had my daughter. So she'll be 18 next week. So on Good Friday, she'll be 18. Yes. And then got pregnant again and miscarried again, and then got pregnant again. So apparently then all of a sudden I became over fertile and was ended up having a son. They're 16 months apart. And at that point, because of all the pregnancies and miscarriages and pregnancies, and then I finally kept 2, my husband said, we're done. So he went ahead and took care of himself and kept going on. But I swelled really bad. The breakouts weren't calming down. No doctor could figure it out. And started getting ovarian cysts, piggybacking all the time. And they ended up giving me a partial hysterectomy. They put me on that medicine Accutane, and I have dry skin. So I already had dry skin. So why is a dry skin person breaking out? Couldn't figure that out. So even after the Accutane, I was still breaking out, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. The headaches were still there, bloody noses. Often I would have bloody noses. Then all of a sudden my vision was going like fast, and they're like, oh, you're 35, no wonder why, blah, blah, blah. So, you're kind of thinking this is normal. So normal things, allergies. I became allergic to watermelon, bananas, tomatoes, all the rubber plant based stuff. The vision got so bad that all of a sudden one day it was really super blurry. My hands and feet were going numb, and I'm a dental hygienist by trade, so I needed my fingers for tactile sensitivity. A lot of people may not realize this, but we use our fingertips to feel below the gum tissue. We don't use our actual vision. And so not being able to feel stuff, that affected my career that way. I started swelling really bad. I was getting so swollen with the numbness that I was starting to shuffle, and then my voice started going, and I got to the point where I couldn't talk, I couldn't walk, my muscles were deteriorating. I was a fitness model as well. I used to teach taboo, which is a pole fitness. So I used to climb the pole, do pole dancing, not for money,
some talent.
Just for fitness. Yes. Yeah. So I've done all these neat things, and then as I was swelling and the weight was coming on, it was just kind of limiting everything I could do. I got to the point where I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk. They did a complete hysterectomy, killed my thyroid, took out my gallbladder, and then they tried to give me a liver transplant. And none of that was what was wrong with me. The whole time I complained of breast pain, and they were doing mammograms on me, and they kept telling me my mammograms were normal. So if you're being told your mammograms are normal and you never see your mammograms, and being a dental hygienist, not only was I a dental hygienist, a former plastic surgeon scrub tech, I was a dental hygienist who taught radiology. So I know how to read films. And when I was sick and they gave me 2 weeks left to live, he's like, get everything in order. There's nothing else we can do. According to your labs, you should be dead, or you're about to be in a coma and about to die. So I came home that night, and we'd already had done our wills prior to this. So I wasn't concerned there, but I was just like, Lord, I know that there's more here, and I've asked you to protect me. I think I asked the wrong thing. I think you're supposed to show me what is wrong with me. And the next day I woke up and one of my breast implants was ruptured.
Wow. What a gift. What a gift. You know, it's so interesting, Anne. It's such a similar story in terms of how you found out, because I myself also was asking the wrong questions, right? And finally, when I was on my knees and I said, I vividly remember saying, Heavenly Father, I believe something's inside of me that they can't find. Show me what that something is. But I said, maybe it's cancer. Maybe it's a tumor. Help me find the answers. And within a few days, I had the same answers. So it just gives me chills. Those of you that are out there that are wondering and trying to put the pieces together, Start asking different questions if you're not getting the answers to the current questions. I think that is the moral of this portion of the story is, and so thank you for bringing that up. And what a beautiful gift. It literally ruptured. You're like, okay, I'm tuning in here. This is maybe the problem. So, okay, keep going.
No,
keep going.
Great. No, it was my aha moment. I mean, I don't know what, but this is what's making me sick, because again, I knew how safe implants were. So why would I ever think it was my implant? So I was just like, so I got out of bed, and some days I could walk and some days I couldn't. So I was able to balance myself and shuffle over to the other side of the bed. And my voice was so, I have recordings of my voice back then, but my kids could actually mimic it. So it's hard for me because when I do it, it actually brings back the symptoms. So my words were jagged and not everything came out. Now in my brain, I thought I was speaking, but they weren't coming out in any kind of formulation. So I had figured out that if I whisper, although it was excruciating painful to me, and it did feel like when people say, think of cutting yourself with a razor blade, make 2 or 3 cuts and then pour alcohol on it. Literally, that's what it felt like in my throat, but it was not like a strep throat. Strep throat hurts within your throat, your mouth, that area. This was somewhere between my esophagus and my skin. And so I could eat food, I could swallow stuff and it not hurt or burn. As a matter of fact, ice cream felt really good to it. I think because the coldness went through to the other side. But whatever it was that was hurting me was between the esophagus and my vocal cords. So it was not on that area, it was on the opposite side. So it was between my skin and there. And I was able to say to my husband, and mind you, we tried to keep a sense of humor of things. We're both in the medical field, and he's a bartender as well. So I kept a sense of humor to everything, and I kept a positive thinking mindset. So I do think your positivity thinking helps a lot of things, but I just got in his ear and said, I think I sprung a leak. And I kind of said it in my way of saying it. It sounded weird to him, but you know, in my way, I was kind of like, hey, I think I sprung a leak. I don't know, but I think this is what's making me sick. And it was a Friday, and I was already scheduled for a mammogram on Monday. That mammogram was scheduled 3 weeks prior. So it was prior to them telling me you don't have much longer to live. And so I kept the appointment because I had to fight for the appointment. So I kept it. And so my husband called to see if they could get me in on Friday and said, no, like it's saline implant, safe, you can wait. So I did actually get a little burst of energy that weekend, and I was able to go watch my son play soccer, and he kicked a goal from midfield. So that was kind of neat to see. And everybody was like, oh my God, that was Aiden. So it was just neat that I was able to be there for that. And I shoved a sock in my bra to kind of give me some fullness there. And I gained so much weight from the front, nobody could tell something was wrong with me. It was from the side view is where you could tell, because obviously with implants, we get an upper pole, and without implants, you have a slope. And so I just took a sock and kind of formulated and made it more upper pole. And when I went to get my mammogram, I had my whiteboard with me, and I wrote down, I think I ruptured an implant. And the lady was there, 2 ladies were there actually, and one was there from the year, 2 years prior. And she kind of looked at me, and I remember her being a dental hygienist. We have this look on our face when we disagree with the doctor, but you can't tell your patient you disagree with the doctor. So you just kind of swallow your pride and just write notes and just be like, but if it bothers you, you be sure to call us. And if this and this, you sure to call us. Well, she had that. I need you to wait here. Just put the robe on. I'll be right back. And they'd never done that before with me. So this 2 years, going back 2 years, I remember her doing that. And I remember when she walked back in the room, she goes, the doctor said everything looks okay. However, they may call you back. So in the next few days, you might get a phone call asking to get some more films done. So I thought, oh, she can't say I'm a hygienist. I get it. You can't say anything. So I was kind of waiting. And the next thing I knew, 10 days later, I had a letter in the mail that said normal. So she's in the room with me. She goes and snaps a photo and comes back, and the implant is completely flat and smushed in my breast. And she goes, I can confirm the rupture, but we saw the leak 2 years ago.
Ooh.
I was like, what? What did she just say to me? And then the other tech goes, Maria. So here I am, I got the name. Maria is telling me, we saw something 2 years ago.
Mm.
So I requested to see a copy of my films. Well, the doctor was dictating already. So he had my 2 years up and he had this one up. And he's talking. I could see from the doorway. I'm standing maybe, I don't know, 20 feet from him. And I can see on the screen something was wrong with my implant. And nobody told me. So when I got home, of course, my mind's racing, and you get that adrenaline, which gives you energy, and you get this burst of, you're a superwoman at that point. So I shuffle over to my cabinet and I dig out my paperwork, and it said normal from 2 years prior. And I'm going, that sure was not normal. Well, my neighbor next door, her father happened to be a attorney, in a different state, but an attorney. And she called him and told him what was up, and he said, tell her to get a copy of those films before they disappear.
Mm.
So I showed up at the hospital the first thing the next morning. They opened at 8. I was there at 7:45 in line, and I got a copy of my films. And when I brought them home, I was flabbergasted and shocked. At 10 years, you could see something was wrong with my breast implant, and nobody told me. 10 years. 10 years.
And does it make you feel like you were cheated for 10 years?
Yes.
That you were cheated about experiences with your children, experiences with health and vibrancy, and those years in your kid's life can never be given back to you again.
Mm-hmm.
And that person could have been able to give you a gift of understanding that there was something wrong with your breast implant. Maybe this is a road we should explore, right? And yet they didn't. And so I'm curious to know if you got angry and if that anger turned into doing something about it and paying it forward. I'm curious about that because I'm a little ticked right now listening to this, and I'm a little fired up, right? But I feel like anger, when we use it appropriately, can be a catalyst for great change, can be a catalyst to improve things for the next woman. So she doesn't get to have 10 years without health and vibrancy, and she can take and reclaim back her health. So she can be at that soccer game every single time, not just when she feels good, right? So I'm curious about that.
Yes, I am this very happy, optimistic, I don't let things kind of get me down type personality. So it's when I do get angry, it does cause me to make change, but it's not necessarily a fight.
Yes.
I take so much, people can beat me up so much because one, half the time my life is my life, and what somebody else does, that's not as important, but I will fight to the end for somebody else.
Yeah.
So for me, it did become, I met this wonderful woman, Paula Blade. She's the co-founder of the Implant Truth Survivors Committee with me. And she and I together formulated the nonprofit. We contacted Kathleen Anakin. Kathleen Anakin and Sybil Goldrich were from the Dow Corning days. And we reached out to Kathleen because she lived in Kentucky and Paula lives in Kentucky. And we spoke to her on the phone for hours and found out what their movie, The Two Small Voices, entailed, because Paula was writing names down from the movie, and Kathleen started giggling and said, no, honey, we had to change the names of the movie. So Paula's like, no wonder why I can't find any of these people. So she told us who to speak with at the FDA, who to talk to about making change and getting an appointment to go see them and try to make a difference in the breast implant world. She had laid that down years ago and did not have any intention of picking it back up. So she said she would have this one, maybe two conversations with us and then send us on our way. So she gave us a lot of insight, and we were able to do some neat things with that and get the nonprofit started. We want to educate women on different things with breast implants. We did a lot of research. We had people from like Kathy Keithley Johnson with Toxic Discovery helped us quite a bit. She said that Sybil Goldrich actually told her to reach out to us. And she educated us so much and gave us documentations from the past, and helped give us knowledge of what happened back then, so that it could be brought forth into what is going on now and how not much had changed. And so when the opportunity came for us to go to the FDA last March, I was one of the other, there was 80 of us. I think there was a little bit more, but I think 80 of us were able to testify. But there was between 80 and 95 of us that had went and gone. And, you know, I think collaborated, we all made a difference.
Oh,
You know, with the
absolutely.
warnings that are coming out, the black box warning, and the ladies that are able to get the legislative change, something I've been working on for Florida. Robin Tout just got Arizona.
Yes.
Kathy
We
Johnson
had her
actually got
on.
it in Missouri.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Okay, good. And whenever I catch your episodes, I put them on. I love catching them and listening to them and posting them. So, but I haven't been able to hear all of them, but I have been posting as I do see
Yes.
them. So
Yes. And so
I love the knowledge.
I am so excited about what you're doing and how you're paying it forward and how you're helping educate women through this. One of the education pieces that really just sparked a huge interest when we started talking was this discussion about insurance, because I would say general idea is that insurance will not pay for this, and that across the board, when you look at the groups and everything, people just believe that they have to pay this out of pocket, that this is the way it's going to be. And you said something really remarkable to me. Not only does insurance pay for it, but they usually pay for it. But you have to know the ins and the outs and how to do it and how to navigate the system, right? And so I was incredibly excited to have you come on, because that would probably be one of the top 3 questions I get is, I really want to get these out, but I don't know how I can afford it. I don't know how I'm going to pay between $6,000 and $15,000 to have this procedure done. I don't have that in my bank account. So I'm curious how you help navigate women through this. Tell us a little bit about the insurance puzzle piece. And I'm just going to let you start with that.
Okay. Mine was denied at first. So thankfully, my in-laws put the money up for me to get my implants removed. And being the fact that I'm from the dental and medical background, I know some stuff about insurance. So I was like, no, if it's medically necessary, it's got to be paid for. I'm fine, sure, the heck is medically necessary. I had one ruptured. It was full of mold. I had staph infection. I totally needed to get it covered. So I found out through trial and error that 9 times out of 10, the first time you ask, if they're replaced for cosmetic reasons, it will be denied. So it doesn't matter if it's pre-authorization or reimbursement. It's going to get denied the first try, because that's the way their policy is written. So I don't want to get too far ahead, so I'll stick on that, and then I'll come back to the insurance policies. Okay. So it's not going to be the first try for the majority of the people. It's going to be the appeal, or the second appeal, or your third and final appeal. And that just depends. And so at first, when I first started doing this, it was basically, unless you had a ruptured implant, so a ruptured implant, it was easier to get. Now, the first time might be denied if they're replaced for cosmetic reasons, that even the rupture wouldn't trump the first try, because that's the way your policy was written. So it does depend on the way the policy is written. But a rupture is reasoning, and pain in the breast, capsular contracture grade 3 or 4. A lot of them now are just 4s, but some are still 3, grade 3 or 4. And a diagnosis of breast cancer or ALCL from breast implants. So breast implant associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma. Those are usually what will get it covered. Now, people will say, but I tried with pain and pain doesn't work. Well, one, it does depend on if it's documented pain. It can't just be the plastic surgeon. You do need to have it documented over time So if you have a GYN, a regular doctor, sometimes we can pull in a chiropractor. Do you have it documented? And for how long has this been going on? It can be for pre-authorization. It can be for reimbursement. Again, I got to go back to the policies a little bit. Just because somebody has Aetna does not mean that all Aetna's cover it, or all Blue Cross Blue Shields, or all Kaiser. It depends on your policy. Aetna in and of itself has between 265 to 267 policies.
Wow.
That's just Aetna. So Aetna has that many policies, so the chance of you, so if everybody on earth had Aetna, yeah, we're gonna have some overflow where some of us have the same policies. Well, think how many insurance companies are out there. So if all of them have 200 and something different policies, there's no way you can have it be read just one way. So one of the biggest myths I hear is insurance won't cover it. No, that's not true. Your policy might not, but insurance in of itself usually does cover it if you have one of those 4 reasons, or a multitude of them. Pain in the breast is the most common because women may not have the capsular contracture grade 3 or 4. They may only have a grade 2, which does cause pain. Mm-hmm. They're having pain because of what's happening to the inside of their body. But insurance hasn't caught up to what the FDA is saying, because the FDA has always touted that they are safe. But now the FDA has made some pretty bold statements that, yes, women can have these reactions. And we have plastic surgeons who are writing articles on, are they having an allergic reaction? That's another way to pull it in sometimes. Sometimes you're going to pull in that the chemical reaction is causing you to have an allergic reaction inside the body, which is causing a burning sensation or a pain. And if it was peanuts or shellfish, the hospital would treat you and your insurance would pay for that treatment. So if you're having an allergic reaction, you got to get them out. The only way to know is to remove them. They can't just do a simple test and go, oh, she's actually allergic to it. Although we have seen that there is a test that can test women for it, it's not well known. So it's the, without my notes in front of me, HL27, I think, the HLR27 or something. It's actually a test to see if you're compatible for a kidney transplant. But for some reason, it shows if you have a silicone, either toxicity or allergic reaction. I don't know 100% about that all, but I did put it in my article when I spoke in front of the FDA. It's one of the things I brought up. So insurance is not this cut and dry. Every person's policy is written for them. When you sign the dotted line to start paying for insurance, whether it's through your work, whether it's an employer from your husband's employment or your employment, the chances that you read the actual policy, pretty slim. And because of that, you don't know what it says. And so what I like to do is I make a phone call with the ladies on a consultation, and we call their insurance company and I ask the questions. I just tell them, once you get it verified, give me permission to speak, I'll cut right through. Because I'll have women say, but I asked them this, this, and this, and they said no. Well, I just know how I'd ask the question. One, I'm a former plastic surgeon, scrub tech, and a dental hygienist. I deal with doctors, patients, and insurance all the time. I almost died from breast implants. I worked in the industry, and I helped file insurance. So I speak, as this one lady says, it's so cute. She's like, you're trilingual. I am trilingual. I speak insurance, I speak doctor, and I speak patient. And so I'm able to speak on your patient level. I'm able to translate that into a professional doctor level when I speak to the doctors, and I'm able to talk to the insurance company. And usually the insurance company, if it's just a regular person who answers the phone, I'm educating them. If I get to the claims department is, they like the fact that I'm able just to bust through. Just get to the point and be done, because I have to deal with them on a regular basis when I do fill in at the plastic surgeon's office here. That's what I do, is I talk to the insurance. So there's a lot to it, and what I do is it's personalized to however your case needs to be. And for the ladies, you know, some women it's quick and easy. The majority of the women, it's hours of work. And every now and then I have a case that will linger on for 6 or 7 months because we can't either get it pre-authorized, or we have to wait for a new insurance year and they have to switch their insurance because of private pay. Usually private pay is a little bit harder. They have just more stipulations because most of the people with private pay can't afford to have those platinum and gold cases. They have to have a lower one. And those ones are usually the ones that will have something written. I don't like to take a case unless I've talked to the insurance company to make sure that it's something that we can go forward with. It's a lot of work, but it's rewarding work. It's almost like it's that challenge, and I like the challenge. I don't like it when I lose, and a very, very small percentage of losses. Like I think if we did a percentage, it's still less than 1%.
Wow.
But if oh yeah, I've turned people down. I'll turn them down. Like if I just know I can't win their case, I'm not going to take the case. But I'll tell them, look, I'll tell you what you can do to attempt it yourself. But I can tell you that one's they're not going to pay. But if you want to take the time to do it, here's what you can do. The other day I had a lady, she was on her final appeal, and I told her, I'm not going to take your case. However, I think it's worth you trying. It's worth you trying, but you're on your last and final appeal and you give me no place to go. And there's no way I would feel comfortable taking your money to do this. Yeah. So here's what you can do. And I suggest you do it. Otherwise you'll never know. And so even if it's just from the never know standpoint, one, don't give up once you start. And it usually is going to be the appeal or the final appeal that wins it. It's not typically the first. And every now and then we hit that. I mean, it's always golden when we hit it the first try, but it's usually an appeal, second appeal, or it's the third and final appeal before we win.
Oh, first of all, it gives me so much hope. At first, when you gave the 4 different breakdowns, I was like, oh, I wouldn't have been in that category because I didn't have any breast pain whatsoever. That was never my issue. I had everything from, the foggy brain, the vertigo, the tinnitus, the fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, chronic UTI, cystitis, leaky gut, SIBO, all of those things, but nothing with my breasts. You know what I mean? Nothing with my breasts. So the fact that you can maybe twist it to an allergy, and that these doctors are documenting some of the common reactions that women have. I know that my own personal doctor here in the state of Utah, Dr. Self, total plug for him. Let me tell you, he's amazing. He is actually keeping research of every patient. He only does explants. He does no implants anymore. And he keeps documentation on women coming in and their symptoms. And when he gets does the explant, he also is keeping track of those women for 3 years afterwards. So that again is going to help with the insurance claims, right? Because now we have doctors that are sending research, valid research that shows women can have a response such as these when they are allergic to their implants. And so that brings a lot of hope to me. Here's my question, because I know when this podcast comes out, there's going to be a lot of women that are going to be like, oh my gosh, how can I work with you? So, so they're going to actually, I feel like women are going to fall into a couple of different categories. They're either going to say, oh my gosh, I've tried to navigate this world. I really need Anne on my side and I want someone to help me with this. Or there's going to be another person who's like, I'm going to do it myself, or I can do this, which is great because you can't help everybody, Anne. I mean, there's just no way.
That's right.
For those do-it-yourselfers or those people that don't even have the several $100s, $400 that it's going to take to work with you, how could they start this process? I know some women, for instance, some single moms out there that barely scrape by and they don't have the extra resources to do this, but they would like to navigate this insurance so that they can, in fact, I'm thinking of one dear friend of mine right now that I'm like, okay, I'm asking this question for her. How does she navigate the insurance? What does she do to start this process? Are there some tips and some tricks out there that are going to help them to be more successful?
Okay. So here's 2 different things. So first I give two options. It's a $25 consultation with me, and I had to start doing the $25 consultation. It goes towards your service if we move forward. Otherwise, it's a donation to the nonprofit to help with different things. I mean, we have gotten a woman completely explanted with this. We, you know, it does the ins and outs of every day, trying to get the information out there to different people. So it has the back end. It's $400 to work with me or Paula when Paula's available. And it is, or a less expensive way, and it actually gives you a greater benefit, is women can sign up through Legal Shield. We've teamed up with Legal Shield, and Legal Shield is $24.95 a month. $24.95 a month. You're given a 13-month agreement that you'll use it for at least 13 months. One, it covers you so that we can get this done. We're going to help you the whole way through it. It's going to give us legal background. It's also going to give women a chance to get a will, because that's included in that fee. So it works out to $325 if they go that route. So they have a choice of which way they want to do it. They can pay the cash payment, or they can do the Legal Shield option. The Legal Shield option gives them an attorney. So when we're able to prove that it's medically necessary and everything works beautifully, your insurance is either going to reimburse you the money if you've already paid, or they're going to approve the surgery and the doctor's office will get payment from the insurance company. When the women are coming and needing the reimbursement, and the reimbursement comes through that we were able to prove it was medically necessary, and they say, yes, you are medically necessary. However, that doctor is in network. So you only owe the doctor $1,200, but you paid the doctor $5,000. Well, because they were in network and you filed for reimbursement, the doctor owes you the difference of that $5,000 and $1,200. Because the insurance said we're in contract with him or her, and they agreed to take our fee schedule. And our fee schedule says a capsulectomy is only $1,200 is all we're having to pay. And so the doctor would then owe the woman money back. Well, the woman can write the letter to the doctor and say, look, I got it approved. As you can see, you're in network with this insurance company, and they have a fee schedule, and I was only supposed to pay you $1,200. You owe me money back. And if the doctor refuses to pay the woman, then Legal Shield picks up and an attorney writes a letter on her behalf. So that's one way. If they're trying to do it on their own, codes are out there all over the place. People will even text me and I'll shoot them the codes. I don't have a problem doing that at all. They're usually on our website. They're, I know in the groups, a lot of times we list them. A lot of the groups will have it in their little file area so that you can see what the codes are. Typically 19371-50, that's your capsulectomy bilateral. The
Okay,
50
say that
just means
slowly.
19371-50.
Okay.
That's the major one that gets coverage. I have just recently worked with somebody, and right off the bat, we were able to get her covered off that one, but the doctor chose to use a different code. And I was like, no, you have to use this code. And then they kind of said, no, we have to have both codes covered. And I was like, no, it doesn't work like that. I've done this long enough. I've been doing this since I was 19. I'll be 39 this year. I mean, I'll be 49 this year. So I was like, I've been doing this quite a long time, so I kind of know. And at first they didn't want to agree with me, but they have to agree with me because they're like, oh my God, she does know what she's talking about. I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to breast implant removal because I've done it for so long. I've been doing this, again, since I was 19. And this is just what it is. You've got to use the right codes. You have to have backup codes. So you have to have your, what were you diagnosed with? Well, breast pain is a covered one, and typically N64.4 typically works. However, insurance companies over the several years, they've kind of picked up on the different things, and so they are wanting additional. So there's some other backup ones. Now, you can't just pick codes out of the air. It has to, one, be documented. If it's not documented in your chart, you can't use a code. So unless it's documented in your chart that you had pain in your breast, you cannot use N64.4. If the doctor feels that it was a complication of a mechanical device inside of you, which would be your breast implant, then the 79.85XA will work. However, if that's not documented in your chart, you can't use something that's not documented. So the biggest mistake women will make on their own is they'll just start picking codes out because our groups have them posted. You can't. You have to have the documentation to back it up. Mm-hmm. And so make sure that the documentation is there. So if it says mechanical device complication, well, then you know you can go use that code. And you can, it's easy to Google the codes too. So you can even Google the codes, ladies. But again, you have to have it backed up with written documentation. So the biggest thing is I pick apart, I read the documentation, or the women will read it to me over the phone, because if it's a lot of documentation, I just want them to read to me and I'll pick out stuff. If it's 1 or 2 pages, I'll be like, just shoot me a picture, and then I'll go over it with a fine-tooth comb and pick out what we need. But if I'm working with the doctor's office, it makes it 10 times easier. Not working with the doctor's office, I have to make sure that everything is documented down to the T. You want to have an itemized bill. So you can't just have a bill that says breast implant removal, $5,000. It can't just say that. It has to be capsulectomy 19371-50 with the diagnosis was N64.4, 79 or 85.79 XA. Or if it was a ruptured implant, then they would put the ruptured implant code. So you have to have codes on a super bill.
What about a recalled breast implant?
Okay, recalled, then you just document that this is a recalled breast implant, and we have allergen textured implant, this one, what the name is, and you show that, and it will be, more and more insurance companies are taking it now because we've all picked up, we know we've pitched enough of a stink that they're doing things. Mm-hmm. Ruptured implant, again, whatever's documented is what you can use, but it has to also be on the super bill. So you can't just have a regular receipt. Can't just be breast implant removal, you paid me $5,000 cash, here we go, that's your receipt. It has to have the doctor's NPI number, the doctor's tax ID number. It has to have the codes on it for the surgery, the anesthesia, the where you had the surgery done. So it's called a super bill. Mm-hmm. And so any office that deals with insurance will know what a super bill is. The offices that don't have insurance will not know. Now, just because they don't accept insurance does not mean all is failed. You have insurance, but you went to a surgeon who doesn't take insurance at all. Like they do not take it. If they take it and they're in network and they tell you, well, we don't take it for this reason because you're getting your implants removed, that's not reason enough. And if they have you sign a form that says, I'm not going to file my insurance, that's not good enough. One, they have to give informed consent. And informed consent is they're citing law where it shows that they do not have to do it for this one procedure. They've made an agreement with their insurance company that, yes, we take insurance for broken noses. Yes, we do it for breast cancer. Yes, we do it for your finger got cut off and we reattached it. But we don't take it for breast implant removal. And we've made an agreement with our insurance company, and somebody sat down with you and said that to you, went over it, and you agreed that they sat down and spoke with you. That's informed consent. That office does not have to comply with implant removal and your insurance, even though they're in network for another company. Just signing a form saying we don't do this and I'm not going to collect, I'm not going to try to get my insurance to cover it, that doesn't fly. That is not legally correct how to do it. So they have to give informed consent when stating, I'm in network with your, yes, I take Blue Cross Blue Shield, or yes, I take Aetna, yes, I take Kaiser. However, I don't for breast implant removal. They have to sit down and explain it to you, and you sign it, they sign it, and a witness signs it. That's how an office can protect themselves. And that's also, we've come across that a lot. Offices will stick in the paperwork, but they don't go over it with the women, and the women are signing away. And there's a small little 3 sentences that says, we don't take your insurance and you're not going to file it. Well, they've signed it because it was also on, here's what's going to happen before surgery, after surgery, blah, blah, blah. It's on a piece of paper that has a whole bunch of stuff on it, and the women will just sign it. Well, they think that that's protecting them, and it's actually not protecting the doctor at all. So I don't just educate for the women, I actually educate for the doctors, because at no point do I want our explant surgeons who are doing the proper removal, I don't want them in trouble either. Yeah. So it's this whole fine line of trying to keep peace with everything.
Well, I love what you're teaching and advocating for. Honestly, Anne, I have never had a podcast episode where any sort of services or anything like that have actually been offered. And I decided to make an exception in this case because so many women out there don't believe that insurance will cover it. And secondly, $25 a month is so much less than what they would pay if their insurance didn't cover it. And so I felt very strongly for those that this serves, they at least know that there's an option. They at least know that there's somewhere and someone to help them out there that can help them navigate this beast we call insurance companies. Because to me, it's a very overwhelming process. It's almost like going to the IRS, and that's why I hire a CPA, right? Because I can't navigate that on my own. And so I feel very strongly that women need to know that there's options out there, that they need to understand that if they are not getting their explant because they can't find a way to do it, that this might be the way, right? I've taught for many, many years as a coach that, and I actually learned this from a mentor of mine named Leslie Householder, that a solution is only an idea away. And so when women finally claim and say, I am getting an explant, I am reclaiming my health, I am taking this back and taking back my power, all they need to do is open up their mind to find the answers. This might be one of the answers. Maybe it's not. Maybe there's another road they're going to go down to, and find the solution. But I promise you, women out there, that if you'll open your mind and claim what you want, and the intention is that you're going to get an explant, you will find the way to do it. I found the way to do it. I had no idea what I was going to do. And it happened to show up on my bank account the day before I met with the consultation. So I'm telling you right now, sisters, you can find a way to make it happen. You just have to make that decision. So I'm hoping that this is going to be that idea that ends up being the solution for many women out there that have been crying themselves to sleep because they know what the issue is now, and they just don't see a way how they can financially make it happen. So I appreciate so much what you're teaching, how you're helping these women. And I'm just wondering, as we wrap this up, if there's any other, if there's anything else on your mind, if you were to give them one more piece of advice or a golden nugget before we end here, what would that be?
I think you kind of already said it, because that's the same way I believe in the power of positive thinking, the law of attraction, and it's what we think and how we feel and the vibration that we're giving off as to what's going to happen to us. And so when we can stay positive and say, I am getting these implants removed, I know that this is what's causing an issue with me, and I am going to find that way will appear, as you have said. One of the neat things, I want to just give a little testimony to this, is I had a lady who chose to go with the route of doing Legal Shield. Very thankful she did. She sent a letter to her doctor saying, look, you're in network. This is this. The doctor wrote back and said, sorry, it was a cash deal, and this is the way that it works out, and this is what we're doing. And I said, always try yourself first. I said, we'll send a certified letter, and I helped her write the letter. So we did the certified letter and gave them 10 days to respond. They did respond and basically said, no, not going to happen. The attorneys stepped in. They wrote a letter on her behalf, not only to the surgeon, they also wrote it to the insurance company. She got money back from the doctor and from the insurance company. So she ended up getting double the amount of money back. And not that that happens every time. That's a neat example of, she ended up getting her implants out and money on top of it. And that's a unique story that I just think is so cool, because it lined up the way I felt that it needed to line up.
Oh, that just makes my heart soar, because as you said in the beginning, we are told a false story and a false promise that these are devices that are absolutely safe. And as we have gone through this journey, we're realizing that is not the case. It never has been the case. And that issue, I believe that some people need to be accountable for that. And unfortunately, insurance companies weren't really a part of it at the beginning, but that's what protects us in the end, right? So they should be a part of it. The doctors who are putting them in should also take some responsibility for taking them out. Again, they may not have had all the information, so I'm not blaming them or or making them into criminals or anything like that. But I think cohesively, we all need to take some responsibility in this. So I'm really excited that there are other options out there for these women. And I'm very excited to be sharing this podcast episode with those that are searching for answers and praying that they can figure something out. And this might be the ticket for them to actually putting that entire puzzle together, that missing puzzle piece. So I so appreciate your help, your wisdom, your knowledge, your passion for this, Anne, and I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you, because you're making a huge difference. And again, the more I catch, the more I do try to post because I love listening to you and the ladies and what they have to say. And so I think what you're doing is so important. So thank you very much for your advocacy. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you all for listening. Remember to subscribe, share, and even post some of your thoughts. If something was meaningful to you today, make sure that you share, you post what you have learned today. And we'll catch you on another episode of Killer Boobies, Unraveling Breast Implant Illness. Thank you for listening. Spread the word by subscribing, liking, and sharing the Killer Boobies podcast today. You could be the person who helps someone reverse their pain and suffering and reclaim their health today.